What is up, guys? Frosty Aussie 0232 here today for another Frosty feature. Today, we have our next legendary coming to Marvel Strike Force. Black Cat. You know how legendary Black Cat is. Black Cat's an awesome character. Black Cat is very active in Spider-Man, the Spider-Verse, and Daredevil and things like that. But legendary? Okay, she's not the first one that doesn't feel like she deserves to be legendary, but she's something. So we're getting Black Cat in the game on our Secret Defenders team. Next legendary, it's going to be a Black Cat Trials, very similar to Nova Trials kind of situation. So yes. So what this is, Frosty Features, is a comic book background on the tunes that you use in Marvel Strike Force, and I am the guy who's going to tell you about it. Your fun Marvel historian dude guy thingy. So yes. So today we're talking about Black Cat. As a reminder, we stick to the Marvel 616 universe for the most part. We'll jump into another universe a little bit in this discussion, but mainly we're sticking to Marvel 616 canon. Let's go! According to Scopely, the daughter of a world-renowned cat burglar, Felicia Hardy followed in her father's footsteps, adopting the name Black Cat and becoming an international thief. She's an accomplished gymnast, a deadly fighter, and has been outfitted with technology to cause bad luck for anyone nearby. Black Cat has danced the line of hero and villain throughout her career, partnering with the likes of Spider-Man and on some occasions, and leading crime rings on others. We're going to talk about both of those things today. I focused on them a little bit because of, I don't usually let, according to Scopely, affect what I'm doing, but I did focus on that a little bit because of it. Usually I talk about very specific events. In her situation, she's involved in many events, but she's got very specific like themes. So you'll see. Black Cat name Felicia Hardy. First appearance, Amazing Spider-Man 1974. Now, or it's 1979. Can't even read. Amazing Spider-Man 1979. One thing I want to point out about this character, she feels like a 60s character to me, and she almost was in the 1980s. I find that very fascinating. So just there's that. Powers and abilities. There's a lot of debate, and there's a lot of stuff about her powers and abilities, right? So, number one, she has stoichokinesis, right? Claws, suit grants superhuman physiology. Depending on where you read in the comics, her power, she has a similar power set, okay? But where she gets her powers from changes, right? So it's typically always stoichokinesis, but it's not like, so stoichokinesis being the, like a probability effect to affect luck, right? So it is not like Domino, right? So Domino, from X-Force, from the Deadpool movies, we haven't done a Domino Frosty feature, but if you know Domino, from the comics, Domino also has stoichokinesis, but her stoichokinesis affects her good luck. Black Cat affects other people's... Black Cat gives other people bad luck, right? It does not change her luck at all, which makes her a little less effective than Domino as far as that's concerned. In certain runs of comics, she biologically can extend her claws. In certain versions of the comics, her suit does it for her. She has, cybernetic implants that give her super strength, super speed. Sometimes she loses those, and then her suit does it, and then magic gives it to her, and then she loses that, and her suit does it. Given to her by the Tinkerer and stuff like that. So the way her powers work changes all the time, but her powers are pretty much always the same. You have this bad luck thing. At first, she doesn't have it. She gets it. And we'll talk about how she gets it later, and then she loses it, she gets it, she loses it, she gets it. One of those characters that's always losing powers, gaining powers, losing. But even without her suit, super strong athlete, super, slightly beyond that of a human capability because of a lot of stuff when it's not stripped from her. Yes, that was not an innuendo in any way. Moving on. Aliases, the cat and many fake names. She is a cat burglar, a super sleuth, if you will. So impersonating is one of her big impersonating people is one of her big things. So very notably impersonated Silver Sable, but also a bunch of random people, had a lot of fake names that she went under, a lot of pseudonyms and things like that. But namely, from the beginning of the comics till now, she is referred to as the Cat or Black Cat. Affiliations: Heroes for Hire, the Thieves Guild, and later we're going to talk about her working with the Defenders quite a bit. But namely, she's kind of a solo artist. That's sort of her thing. She really kind of gets off on being able to do all this stuff by herself. She's very a big thing about her is being that sort of independent person. So keeping that in mind as we roll through who Black Cat is. Who died? Ryan. Ryan doesn't have a last name, okay? But in comics, you can't be a superhero or supervillain without somebody dying, and for Felicia Hardy, that is Ryan. So in this situation, she goes to Empire State University. This is where we see Peter Parker go to school, and her freshman year of college, trigger warning, we are going to talk about subjects pertaining to rape. We will try to do it not go too hard into it. We're not I'm just going to use the word a couple of times. So there's a situation where she is being sexually assaulted, and Ryan steps in and stops it. And he's like, yo, get away from that stuff. I got you, whatever. And then they start this relationship, and they start to kind of grow it and bloom or whatever. And then Ryan's like, we need to take this to the next level, and we should do it. And Felicia's like, we should not do it. And then Ryan decides to do what he stopped earlier, and he rapes her. Which then, her father being a famous cat burglar and his father being a famous cat burglar, she's like, I'm going to train in fighting, and I'm going to kill Ryan. And so she becomes this real badass chick, learns to fight, and then she goes to kill Ryan, and turns out he died in a drunk driving accident. So then she's got all these skills and a lot of anger, and she has nowhere to put it. So she decides then to follow in her father's footsteps and becomes a cat burglar. And because it's comics, she takes on the alias of Black Cat, right? So there it is. Background. She is from Flushing, which is a neighborhood in Queens, New York. Another one of those New York characters. When it comes to the Spideyverse, New York, in Marvel, New York's the center of the universe, and when it comes to the Spideyverse, New York is the universe. So obviously she's from New York. Perfect. Black Fox. So Black Fox is her father's mentor, right? So after Ryan's death and she decides to become a cat burglar, Black Fox is the one that takes her under his wing. That's sort of where we see her get kind of her inspiration to become Black Cat. Her father, she doesn't work under her father because her father was arrested and is actually like held in prison. Well, which is really funny to me because Felicia pretty much is constantly, she's one of those characters that has a plot line and it happens and it happens and it happens and it happens. So Felicia, Black Cat, gets arrested, she breaks out of jail. Gets arrested, breaks out of jail. Gets arrested, breaks out of jail. Her dad is arrested, and I don't remember him breaking out of jail. I think that was just sort of his thing. He might have done it once, but I bet he got put back in jail. But she's doing it all the time. It's very, very popular for her. Another thing I find really interesting about Felicia Hardy is she is not in it for the money. She does not steal because... And it's actually one of the main reasons why Black Fox decided to work with her, and a lot of heroes and stuff. It's one of the things that Spider-Man kind of latches onto later, because one of the big things with Black Cat is the relationship with Spider-Man. So we're going to be talking about that heavily. So she's not like, I need money, I'm going to steal it so that I can push forward myself, whatever. She gets a rush. She likes to steal things. It doesn't have to be for her. She likes the challenge. So when it comes down to it, it puts her in that perfect position to be this anti-hero, vigilante, not vigilante kind of thing. She can steal for selfish reasons. She can steal for, and very often when you see her working with Spider-Man, it very much is, hey, someone stole this, steal it back. Little Ocean's 11, but instead of 11 people, it's just Spider-Man and Black Cat most of the time. And the goal is, hey, that was snatched, snatch it back. Or, you know, people hire her to steal things, or she just gets bored and steals them, right? So Spider-Man's very conflicted in that because she is very laissez. She will break into a place just to break into it, maybe not even steal anything, right? That's definitely kind of her situation, right? So it can be played all over, and that's one of the really interesting things about Black Cat is they really do play with that in different plot lines and things like that in the story. But because stealing is illegal across the board, it's not just vigilanteism. She ends up in jail a lot more than a regular vigilante. So there you have it. Relationships. I found this kind of interesting and more difficult to find than I thought, right? So obviously there's a relationship with Spider-Man. She has a relationship with Flash Thompson at a time too. Like, she has a few different love interests, but namely we're looking at Peter Parker for the most part. Actual relatives though, they're referenced a few times, but you don't see them very much. So Walter and Lydia Hardy are her parents, right? Walter being the thief and Lydia being dead. Felicity Hardy. So this is in the 616, right? In the 616, it is referenced that she has a niece named Lou, presumably Louie, right? In Marvel 2149, for those of you in the back, that's the Marvel Zombies universe. She has a sister that is portraying, she's the current Black Cat in that universe, named Felicity Hardy. So, due to the fact that in the 616 she has a niece but no known siblings, my connection I propose, this is not official or whatever, I haven't even read about it online that maybe people think this, I'm just throwing out there, due to the fact that she has a sister in 2149, and the only difference, the divergent point of the 616 and the 2149 is the zombie invasion. I would assume that Lou's mother is Felicity Hardy, right? I have no way to prove it. This is just me. This is me doing my conspiracy theories and just going through and trying to figure something out. So I assume in the 616 there is a Felicity Hardy. Does that mean there's the potential to have a second Black Cat in the future? Yes, absolutely. Notable events. We've said it a few times. We gotta address it. Spidey relationships, right? So, very notably, Black Cat and Spider-Man have an on-again, off-again relationship. So, we're going to kind of talk about this sort of first time they get in a relationship. So, Felicia's stealing a bunch of stuff, right? There is a situation where there are a crap ton of bombs placed throughout New York City by Kingpin. And Kingpin has this detonator, and he's just, you know, it's just one of those, it's one of his plans that he's not got enacting, right? So this guy named the Owl steals it. So he steals it, and he's like, I'm going to hold New York City for ransom, and I'm going to get paid wealthy, and I'm going to live, you know, this great, fantastic life. And then Doc Ock's like, I heard the Owl has this thing, and I freaking hate everybody. I'm going to blow up New York City. And so, with that, in hearing, so Black Cat works a lot with Kingpin, in it, like, on purpose, not on purpose. She steals things from him, whatever. So she ends up stealing the detonator, right? Therefore, saving everybody, right? So, so she saves everybody, but Doc Ock knows. So he's like, hey, I was gonna destroy New York City with that thing. I'm mad at you now. I'm gonna kill you. So he goes after Black Cat, and this all has been caught the attention of the one and only Spider-Man. And so Spider-Man and Black Cat end up in this situation where they're fighting off Doc Ock, and they're like, get out of my way, Doc Ock. And Spider-Man's like, hey, you know these metal arms? You don't need them anymore. We're here to kick your butt. So he rips off the arms, and he like throws them to the side and keeps on the fight. But unbeknownst to literally everybody ever, Doc Ock has some sort of mental connection with his arms, even though they're not attached to him anymore. And they grab Black Cat, and Doc Ock's like, my random men that Frosty didn't bring up that were standing around with guns and knives, attack. And so they sort of fight, you know, almost like fire squad, just lay into Black Cat, knives, bullets, and such. And then Spider-Man's like, nah, kids, let me show you how to do it. He cleans up the situation, right? Takes out Doc Ock, takes out the men, disables them, grabs the Black Cat, and swings to a hospital and takes her to the hospital. And as she's like going away to the hospital, he's like, man, she's really hot. And I kind of like her because, she might be a thief, but also like she's helping people with her thievery, right? So like I'm digging on that pretty hardcore. So after Felicia gets out of the hospital, they kind of begin this relationship, and it's going fairly well, but then Secret Wars happens, right? So in Secret Wars, Peter is taken to Battle World, and he's off Earth. This is where you see Black Suit Spider-Man for the first time. Super cool, super fun, flash, bang, bang, bang. Well, while all this stuff is going on in Battle World, Felicia's sitting in New York City, and she's like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? I don't have my spider boyfriend. He's gone. And so she's sort of like freaking out about that. And with that, she goes to Kingpin essentially. He's like, hey, I can make you stronger. And she's like, I'm gonna be stronger. And she gets these cybernetic implants that give her this stokokinesis for the first time. And the plan here, Kingpin's like, I'm gonna give her these bad luck powers that make other people have bad luck. And when she starts hanging out with Spider-Man, when he inevitably appears back in New York, he will have a permanent bad luck thing, and I can kill him, right? And Black Cat's just like, this is gonna make me badass. Let's go, right? So Spider-Man gets back, and after a while, Spider-Man, starts having a lot of bad luck, and he goes to Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange's like, you have a bad luck aura about you. And Spider-Man's like, Black Cat, and he's like, you did this on purpose. We need to break up. While at the same time, Black Cat was like, oh my god, I'm affecting him. We're gonna have to break up because I don't know how to turn it off. And then she gets pissed because he broke up with her. She wanted to break up with him, and eventually they get the control of it, or they figure out how to counteract it, and they get back together. There's also a situation that I think is really funny. I think that was the second time they broke up with the bad luck powers. The first time is they're working together, and eventually they want to, move forward in their relationship and do kissy things and stuff. And Spider-Man takes his mask off. He's like, I'm Peter Parker. And she's like, you're a person under that mask? Get effed, jabroni. Leave me alone. And because she thought it was ridiculous that he needed an alter ego, a secret identity, and he should just be Spider-Man. And they break up because of that too. So throughout the comics, you find that they get back together for a weird reason, and not for a weird reason. It's because they're like, we're two hot people. We should do this. And then they break up because of one reason or another. Yes. Cool. So they're on and off again. She also is very notably jealous of all of Peter's girlfriends. And when we find that eventually Peter and MJ get married, Mary Jane Watson, they get married. Black Cat finds out. She has like this mental breakdown, and she's like, I'm gonna make Spidey hella jealous. So she starts dating Flash Thompson, which I alluded to earlier in the situation. But all of this leads up to this. One of my favorite parts of the Black Cat relationship of the thing is her interaction with Superior Spider-Man, which we have actually talked about that a little bit. We've alluded to it a little bit the last couple of the last few Frosty features, and it's just this convenient point, right? It's a big point in the 616, but so her becoming the crime boss of New York spawns from Superior Spider-Man, which is the time period in which Doc Ock was in Peter Parker's body and acting as the current not the current crime boss, the current Spider-Man. So what she was doing at that point, she grew tired of being an anti-hero, of being anti-heroism. She got tired of cab burgling. She got tired of being a vigilante. She just wanted to retire, wanted to more or less just kind of put it all away. So she was stealing the last few things selfishly this time, not enjoying it anymore. She's stealing a few things so that she can kind of amass wealth, retire, and chill. And unbeknownst to her, Doc Ock is in Peter's body. And Spider-Man shows up and she's like, "Oh, what's up, Spider? What what do you think you're gonna do to me now, big boy?" And Doc Ock's like, "I'm gonna beat the living crap out of you." And he beats her and he ties her up and he's like, "Say hi to the cops for me, baby," and he leaves. And she's like, "Oh my god, I got hardcore betrayed by, my on again, off again Spider-Boy. So what happens now?" And she gets arrested. All of her belongings and possessions get repossessed. And the possessions that she, five-finger discounted also are repossessed, effectively ending the retirement. And she is absolutely pissed at Spider-Man. So while incarcerated, she starts this really fun, alliance with Electro, and they bust out of prison and they go and attack Parker Industries, and it's a big thing. And I think at this point we have Spider-Man, or Peter Parker, back in his own body, and he's like, "Oh, what's going on?" And he stops the attack, and then they leave. They come back for another attack, and Parker Industries has a weapon that they're developing that's literally to counteract Electro, because if you've read a comic or seen a movie, Electro can be quite a problem, or played the game on PlayStation 4. Electro can be quite a problem when he feels the need. So they're like, "Hey, here's this gun we made to counteract Electro's powers." And Electro and Black Cat are like, let's get in on that action. So they go in there to attack. Whilst doing so, they get to a point where they almost unmask Spider-Man, and then all of a sudden, swing in, flash, bang, bang, Silk appears, right? So Silk is a girl that got bit by the same spider that bit Peter Parker, and she was locked in a room for a very long time because of inheritors. Check out some Frosty Features Ghost Spider, and I talk about the inheritors quite a bit. So she comes after the fact, and so she comes in and she's helping. She's like all this new Spider-Girl situation, and then Electro gets blasted with the gun and loses his powers, and Black Cat's like, "You're a lot less interesting to me now. I'm gonna become a crime boss. Bye." So she's looking to develop this large crime syndicate, literally just to make Peter's life a living hell. And she ends up teaming, and you can see it in the panel I pulled up. She ends up teaming up with Hammerhead this time instead of Electro, because Electro's powerless and useless. So they're sitting there doing their crime thing, amassing wealth, getting a lot of people. And then Diamondback, who I typically associate with Luke Cage, Heroes for Hire. I believe he's in Luke Cage season 1, the Marvel Netflix series. I think that it is now on Disney Plus. But Diamondback challenges her essentially for the throne, and she's like, "Psh, you're below me," and he's like, "Oh yeah," and beats the living crap out of her, and sort of tosses her to the side, and thinks she's wounded in what appeared to be a fatal manner, threw her to die in the gutter, and then the Defenders show up and save her and nurse her back to health, and she starts working with the Defenders to take down the Defenders, and specifically Daredevil, a few times to take down these different crime syndicates and get back to where she was. And in finally doing it, she takes it out. She's like, "I'm gonna resume my throne as the baddest of the bad crime bosses there are." And then she realizes that nobody trusts her because she worked with the Defenders, etc., and everybody has left, and she has lost all of her clout, and that's essentially how it becomes. She goes back to being anti-hero, vigilante, thief sometimes, right? Goes all the way back to the original cycle, which we still kind of have rolling. So yes, those are our notable events for Black Cat. There are many. She's involved in a lot of stuff, a lot of fun stuff. Really good to read. Power level. So one of the hot topics in Marvel Strike Force is the power level of Black Cat. So what do we have it here? So in Marvel Strike Force, they don't care about power level, but here on Frosty Features, we do. And the way that we do this, if you are a multiversal threat, you are a threat to all of reality. Not just your reality, but every reality. You can end the multiverse all at once. If you are a universal power level, you are a threat to your reality, perhaps can hop over to the next one and end that one. Cosmic, you are a threat on a planetary scale. You can destroy planets, solar systems, up to galaxies, things like that. Nuclear means you have power equal to that of a nuclear bomb. Therefore, the ability to level small cities all the way up to a single solitary planetary body with effort. Super Soldier means that you are beyond all capabilities of human. You are human plus you have the ability to take out something like a brick wall, and with enough effort, maybe up to a city block. City means you are human, but you are trained to the absolute and utter peak of human ability. This is where we see a lot of our secret agents and our soldiers and mercenaries in the Marvel Universe. Greg is the undead Asgardian that is spawned by Hela in Marvel Strike Force. And due to undead Asgardian physiology and the fact that he dies when looked at too hard in Marvel Strike Force, we're going to say, for the sake of argument, that Greg is equal to that level of a regular human being. So, if I have a bunch of card-playing mats still in their plastic tubes in a shopping bag and a lot of anger, I theoretically, as a regular human, could take out Greg. So, in the case of Black Cat, right? I've had a lot of people in the comments say Greg, a lot of people think City, due to the fact, and it once again, it depends on where you're reading, right? But I'm kind of looking at this at her, I guess her strongest, I guess is the way to put it. But more often than not, she has superhuman speed, agility, and strength, be it due to cybernetic enhancements, be it due to her suit. She also, it's on occasion, magic, and she can make her nails go in and out. Her nails stick into the wall so she can climb, so those are beyond a regular person's situation. So in the case of Black Cat, I deem her Super Soldier. She is comparable to most Super Soldiers. She is, however, on that lower end. The stoichiokinesis does also lend itself to this, but it's not to the point of such an effect that it helps her all that much, right? Because once again, it doesn't affect her performance, it affects other people's performances, much like Domino, but the opposite. They have the same powers, but they're flipped, right? So, pretty neat. And in the case of, according to Scopely, they did okay. It's extremely general, not much detail is given, but none of it's wrong. It's all from the comics, so I appreciate that, and I hope that you all do. And that is Frosty Features Black Cat. I hope that you all had a good time. I missed a lot. There's a lot about Black Cat. Let me know your favorite Black Cat moments in the comments. Let me know if I got anything wrong. I love to hear it. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share the video. I'd really appreciate it. It helps the channel out so much, and it doesn't cost you anything but a couple of clicks. And as a reminder, I stream every week at the link above on Twitch, where we do Frosty Features Live. I hope that you all enjoyed this. I hope that you all have a fantastic, fantastic weekend. And most importantly, y'all, stay cool.